Still located in our resort, health and body resort.
Yeah.
Mindset and body, what are we calling it? Yeah, my guest today is the incredible and amazing Joanne Morrison. There is so much to say about you, Joe, but I'll leave it to you. So we'll just gradually pull that out of you.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
No problem. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Tell me, what are you doing now, and how did you get here? Well, let's start with what you're doing.
I'm a health impact coach, so I work predominantly with people who want to make a big change in their life, a transformation, and most of that is concerned with the way they think about their ability to be able to achieve something. So I work on the mindset and just changing perspective when somebody is faced with a challenge, or if they have a specific goal relating to making health changes, then I suppose I assist them with the tools that they need in order to achieve that. They have to do all the work, really. I just sort of draw out how they're going to do that, and work with them on a one-to-one basis. Yeah, so that's sort of
what you
my
do.
passion. Yeah, my passion.
Good. So why is that your passion? What do you? If you can start maybe from your upbringing, like what from your childhood, your parents maybe, so you know we can pretty much see where this is coming from.
Well, I grew up in a small town called Staymarket in Suffolk. I say I grew up there. That was my sort of years from really about 7 years old upwards. Prior to that, my parents were in the RAF. My dad was in the RAF, and we travelled quite extensively up to that point. Moved a lot. You know, I think I had 13 schools in 10 years at one point. So you know, there was a lot of travelling, a lot of moving, and a lot of integrating with new people all the time. But most of my life was spent growing in a gym, really, in a gymnasium, because I used to go with my sister, mainly with my sister, to the gym with my dad on the camp. And I think that's where it sparked my interest straight away in gymnastics, because my dad was a gymnast. And I had two brothers who were older than me, so there's 13 years between myself and my oldest brother. So I didn't really grow up with them as such, you know, but me and my sister were very close. And I had a really nice upbringing, you know, it was a good family. We laughed a lot and talked a lot, and my friends were always welcome in our home, and my parents liked to tell stories about things that they'd done, so it was a good upbringing. Although my dad wasn't always there, you know, because sometimes he was there away for a long time, when he was posted to different places. But it was just part of our life, you know, we were used to that sort of lifestyle. So yeah, and I enjoyed it. It was good. Made lots of new friends.
So what do you think was the benefit of you having to go from school to school? What was the hard part, and what's the good part about this? Did you draw any conclusions like before?
Yeah, I mean, school was never my favourite thing, really. I enjoyed going, but I always, from a very young age, my mum once said to me, the first day I went to school, the teacher said that when Joanne came to school, she started crying, and you know, she cried most of the day. So Mum had come to pick me up, and then talked to the teacher, and the teacher said, well, she just cried all day, and she thought that because she came to school, she'd be able to read. And when I explained to her she had to learn how to read, she didn't want to know. She wanted to go home and said, well, I'm not here. I just thought, you know, a bit like I'd been deceived, just to get me there. So my view of the world was that because I went to school, I should be able to read a book.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had to learn how to read. So, and I think that's been a thing throughout my whole life. I've seen something that I want to do or that looks great, and I think I should be able to do that because I'm in that arena, and I maybe have visited that place or because I've gone on a course, I should actually just be able to do it. I shouldn't have to learn how to do it. And I've always thought that way. I should know this, you know.
I think you had, when we discussed previously, you had an approach in terms of like, what's your approach in learning? How do you learn skill or something? And we were talking about the...
Oh, yeah. We're talking about
would you mind just elaborating? Like,
yeah, I mean, I suppose really going back to school, I couldn't read music, but I loved music. So I used to get my sister to play the recorder to me, because I wanted to be in the recorder, you know, like in the orchestra. And so she would play the music to me, and then I would just copy what she did, and I'd just ask her questions, you know, how she knew to play those notes. And then as I progressed through my life, I sort of learned that by copying somebody's behaviour or the way that they were, if I thought something was good, you know, in gymnastics, when, you know, I was a county gymnast and then progressed up to national gymnast, although I didn't pursue any further, I would watch people and intently on the way that they approached doing tumbling or doing an activity, and then I would copy, you know, but I wasn't quite as refined with it then. I didn't realise what I was doing, but that was how I learned, because I was quite bright, but I wasn't academic. You know, I got things quite quickly, but I wasn't really, I found it very difficult to write things down or to do exams, that type of thing. And then obviously as I progressed through my life, and I got a real interest in behaviour, mindset behaviour, and how you can change your perspective quite rapidly. I realised people taught me techniques that would enhance that skill, and those techniques were about finding out what the physiology was of that person, you know, how they breathed, what they were thinking about in that moment when they did something. And that was a progression on what I learned as a small child, but I didn't know what I was doing then. And then it was like that light bulb moment when you think, oh my God, I get this, you know, this is really cool stuff, and realise you could achieve so much.
So if we just brief, like kind of refine that into a brief description, like what would be that learning procedure or like steps towards the learning that you scout for yourself, you know, in process, and who that type of learning would apply to best?
From personal experience, I think you can apply it in pretty much everything you do. It doesn't.
And anyone can apply, or
anybody can apply, but it's understanding that having a strategy to do something and being able just to change that slightly can make a significant difference on whether you succeed or whether you do okay. You know, it's that attention to detail. So the steps really are to understand what you do now, the stages that you go through. Once you understand what you do now, what the outcome of that is generally, because it may be that you do that again and again and again, always getting the same outcome. If you do, you know there's a pattern, and if it's something that's not making you happy or that's causing you an issue in what you're doing, then you need to introduce something in there that's going to just shift your attention slightly. And that could be something as simple as, I don't know, if you said, for instance, somebody was used to would go in a shop and just pick something up off the shelf. They would never look at the price, they wouldn't pay attention, and then they get home and they didn't want it. You know, that sort of behaviour. So you could introduce new behaviour that means that when they walk in the shop, they don't pick the item up until they look at the price. So you bring in that behaviour, instead of it being the other way around, that comes before. So there's ways of just shifting people's strategy so that it's supportive of what they want, you know. So you find out what somebody's doing first, what their behaviour is, and then you look at what they want the outcome to be, you know, where they are now and what it is they're trying to attain, and then you look at the steps that you need to introduce in order to do that. So it's generally that sort of process in most things.
Can you explain in an example? You know, I think we're talking about that example. If you, because I found it's quite interesting, like the example of this specific approach of learning, and I'd like you to to tell that story again, how it happened. You know.
Well, I was asked to. It was part of my training as a master practitioner, NLP practitioner, was to master a skill. It's something I'd never done before. It had to be something that I'd never experienced. And I have actually done an awful lot of things, especially when it comes to sport and training and learning. So I sort of went home and I thought, well, I don't really know what skill I want to learn. So I was like trawling books and the internet to see what struck a chord, and then I came across poi spinning. And for those who don't know what poi spinning is, it's something that's come from the islands, Hawaiian Islands, and the women used to spin the poi to calm the children, and the rhythm used to help them to sleep. But it was used for so many other things. I mean, there's a big list of things, but that was one of the things that I remembered, and I thought, this looks so good. And they also used to spin poi with fire, fire on the ends of the poi, and poi are just like long ropes or ribbons, and you create patterns with them, but your body moves with it. So I looked at this and I thought, I can learn this. So I rang somebody locally. I was in London then, and I said, look, I want to pay you to come and teach me to do something, but I don't want you to teach me. I want to ask you lots of questions to learn what it is you do to do this particular thing. And he was a bit taken aback, and he said, but if you're paying me, I need to teach you. And I said, no, I just want to learn from asking you questions what you're doing, and then I'm going to be able to do what you do. So he came along sort of quite open-minded. It was quite funny, and he was quite a sort of like, I can only describe him as quite a hippie, free-spirited kind of guy. So he came with these poi, and then I just asked him a series of questions. So how are you breathing? What are you doing when you're thinking about that? What's the first thing that you do before you even pick up the poi? All of this stuff. And we had a few sessions over a few weeks, and he never once instructed me, ever. And I started spinning, the poi spinning. And then if you try, and when you're a coach, and I know how frustrating it is, when you're a teacher and you see somebody doing something that's not quite right, you want to step in and say, actually you need to do it this way, or you need to do it that way. And he would go to step in, and I'd say, look, ask me questions. So ask me some questions. So he then started to ask me some questions. Joe, what are you thinking? What's going through your mind? And I said, and then I'm going to ask you those same questions, and then see if I'm doing the same as you. And so that's how we worked together. And the point was that I had to then go back and teach poi spinning to a group of 6 people the same way, but without explaining to them. So they then had to learn from me. So
how was it?
Yeah, it was really good. They all did it. They all did it. Just the basic. I mean, obviously it's a basic move, spin. But it really taught me that actually it's a really interesting way to learn something, especially if you're not particularly academic at reading, instructions and things like that. And
following instructions.
Yeah, and I think perhaps with children, maybe they are, because they're so open-minded, they have no preconceived ideas. So if if you've got a child to learn things in that way, who knows what would be potentially possible.
Yeah, I love the process. I mean, this is something that resonated with me actually, because it's how I learned as well. It's like I was watching things, and this really played the tune for me, you know. And I never heard this method before, and you expressed this example was like, wow,
Yeah, and you have to really find the best person that you can. Yeah. So if you really want to excel in one particular skill, find the best person available to you that you can learn from, and in any area, model your behaviour on those people. Bring that in. And where I come in as a coach, I do work with people that have health issues or that are overcoming obstacles, health obstacles. But I also work with people that are just stumbling in relationships or in in business or in general, and just maybe a little bit overwhelmed. And it's about just breaking it down into doable blocks. And my role is to just be the person that questions and just brings that thought process where it should be, you know, so that they can deal with it and make sense of it and you know, feel like they're progressing. So.
What is there any pattern that you've realized that's quite often recurring in specific, let's say, business people that are coming to you, and that's something that kind of a usual or a characteristic problem they have?
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest stumbling block for people is the ego, is their desire to be right, regardless of whether they know that they're not right, because of either the position within a business or a fear. It's fear of looking like a fool, or fear of not behaving the way that they believe they should behave in a particular situation. So that can be in business or in a relationship or in life in general. I think fear is a big one. You know, fear of failing, fear of looking stupid, fear of not achieving, you know, achieving a certain amount but not achieving what they said they would. And I think that holds people back, so it becomes a negative pattern, and they'll always do the same thing again and again and again. You need to interrupt that, you know, and get somebody to realise that there is a possibility to behave and look at something from a different perspective. Sometimes it's just a very, very simple observation, and that moment when you look at a client and I know they've got it. And it's an enlightening moment for that client, because you know that they suddenly go, oh, you know, I see, I understand, I can feel the difference. This is just going to make such a difference to my life, and that's why I do it. Yeah. Because it's about believing in yourself, you know, and not putting obstacles up.
Is there an example you can give us, like an easy, simple, without names or something like that, like that you worked very quickly and it was so visible, that fear pattern, or you know, what a specific problem it was, and it worked? I
think I've had so many successes with people, and when I'm coaching with somebody, in the moment I work with what's exchanged in that moment. So I don't use a book. I go on intuition and based on how that person's reacting to how I'm dealing with them. To give a specific example of a quick turnaround. I can. Somebody wanted to stop eating biscuits. Huh? You know, I was desperate to stop eating biscuits, and I did a technique that would just make them just not want to eat biscuits. But before I did it, I said, do you ever want to eat biscuits ever again? No. And most people will say, no, I don't, I'm really serious. But then when you take that away from them, or you get them to behave differently, and they suddenly realise they actually don't want to eat the biscuits, they can't understand why, and it can happen very quickly.
They can't understand why they ate them, or
no, why they don't want them.
Why they don't,
especially when they've had such a strong desire to do them, and that's a very, very simple technique that you can do. But you know, you do it with simple things. So it could be like a fizzy drink, a specifically named fizzy drink, or you could do it with an alcoholic drink. But if you said all alcohol, you know, you have to be certain that the person doesn't want to ever touch alcohol again. If you just do it with, you know, if they like to sort of sit and have a social drink, it's very different. You know? So it's about discovering whether it's actually a problem to that person. You know, it can be a problem if somebody's eating 25 packets of biscuits in a day, then it needs addressing. But if it's just that they have a couple of biscuits every so often, I wouldn't necessarily class that as an observer as an issue. But it's about what the client, you know, what the person wants. Yeah, if that's a problem to them, then that is a problem.
Yeah. I try to put out the light. Let's see how it goes. Did it change anything?
No, it hasn't come on.
Oh, it didn't? Oh, here, sorry.
Ah, that's better.
Yeah, well, let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll enhance, we'll try to make it. Okay, it's better with sound, of course, but no, we're not doing it the third time, do we?
It's what?
We're not doing it the third time.
Is it working?
Yeah, it's working. It was. Yeah, we just missed one interview.
So I use it. I use a lot of these things on myself, on a daily basis for mindset change. Eventually, it just becomes part of the way you think.
Yeah, you're a very strong person, and you kind of self training quite a lot, and I think it comes from your previous experiences that you had in life.
Mm.
Would you kind of briefly take me through the what chronological things, maybe?
Yeah.
What was the things that were very kind of shaped your your personality and who you are now, and how that happened? What exactly happened that actually made you who you are at the moment? Because there's some very important things that we quite a lot of times take as like failures in life, or something that a curse or something like that, and that those actual things make us someone that has a specific mission, and those are special thing that we did were maybe meant to be, or something like, I don't know, but I know some of the things but I'd like you to.
I suppose I couldn't wait to leave school, because at school I was bullied, and it was quite miserable. But I'm quite an optimistic person, quite pretty upbeat. But I did struggle with that aspect of school, and that was one of the reasons I would have liked to have gone on to study longer, but I always felt I was too young to be at school. I didn't really get it, that whole learning thing. So I left at 15. I couldn't wait to get out. The bullies were. I was short, I had bright ginger hair, I had loads of freckles, I looked like a tomboy. I was a tomboy, and I was quite awkward with that, but I liked it, I liked the way I was. I didn't really understand that I could be any other way, because it suited my character. And so I left school and I went to work at 15, just turning 16. My first job, my first main job, I'd worked in a supermarket on the deli counter, which I loved, from the age of like 13, because we used to eat all the cheese. And
Exactly.
It was good. There was a payoff.
Everyone likes that.
Yeah, there was a payoff. And then I joined the army when I was 20, so 19, almost 20, and I joined to be specifically a physical training instructor. That was what I wanted to do.
Why was that?
Because my dad had been in the RAF.
Okay.
But my dad said to me, join the army, because the training was superior to the RAF. Sorry, anybody out there who's in the RAF, but my dad told me, so it had to be right. And no, he said you will get to use your skills, and the training was extensive. So I went to the recruiting office, and the guy sort of laughed at me and said, "But you're too, look at you, you're only 5'2", and I said, no, I don't want to do anything else. And he said, okay. So anyway, long story short, I was selected to go in, and it was tough, getting through the selection. And then I arrived at the barracks to do my basic training, which I absolutely loved. My basic training, it was hysterical. I just loved the fun of it, learning. That's way of learning where you're practically learning was just brilliant. And then I went to the physical training, the PT school in Aldershot, and I was there for nearly nine months training with a group of girls, and it was intensive. We had to learn so much, all the sponsored sports, and there was 22 sports. We had to learn how to coach, umpire, referee, demonstrate, lead, present, everything to do with training, and be exceptionally physically fit. So it was a tough hill to climb, but it was brilliant, and that was the first time I was learning in an arena and an area where I felt comfortable, because
Yeah.
it wasn't just about the paper. It was about my ability to connect and communicate. So that really sort of catapulted me.
The lipstick story.
Oh, the lipstick. Yeah, well, yeah, we've talked about this.
I like this story.
So one thing about me is I always wear lipstick, always, from probably my teens. I suppose because I was so tomboyish, it was probably the only feminine thing that I did. I found lipstick. Oh yeah, that's feminine. I'll do that. Yeah. So when I was in the army, I always wore lipstick, and so when the recruits, when I was training recruits in the later years, because I used to train new recruits, that was sort of my strength.
Yeah.
New recruits, male and female, that used to come in, depending on where I was posted. They used to do like what they call a skits night, which was like a play based on events that had gone on during their basic training. It was just some fun. The first time people could sort of really have some fun after their training.
Yeah.
And they did one on me, and I was dressed in my PT kit. A couple of the recruits came out, and I could clearly tell that it was based on taking the mickey out of me. And this girl proceeded just to, she said, right, squad, get into line, ready for PT, but just bear with me a moment. And she pulled out the lipstick from her PT skirt and compact, and just put the lipstick on, and then she said, oh, just another moment, and sprayed her hair with some hairspray. And it was just down in a waistband, And then she said, right girls, let's crack on then, shall we? And everybody was hysterical. It was really funny, because I hadn't realised that people had observed.
Yeah,
I did that. But anyway, it's just something you would always find me. It didn't matter if I was on exercise, wearing combats, crawling through whatever. I always had lipstick on. Not quite as bright as this one.
Yeah.
But, so it's a trademark, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. So you worked after you came out from army.
Yeah. So I was in the army for 4 years, and then I went over to Germany and worked for the youth training scheme over in Germany as a tutor. So I travelled around. My territory was the north of Germany, and then I went over to Berlin and taught in Berlin. As was before the wall came down. So that was quite an event, and then I came back to England as a civilian. So I was still attached to the army, but worked as a civilian. And then I was only about 26 then, so I came back, and then unfortunately I was diagnosed with cancer at 26.
What was the cancer?
I had advanced aggressive cervical cancer, and it was. One day I was really fit and well and, training, but I hadn't felt so great. I'd gone to give some blood the day before, and I just didn't feel good after giving blood. So I thought I would go and, make an appointment to go and see the doctors, which I did, and within 24 hours I was diagnosed with cancer. Like, it was just, to say that the whole course of your life changes in a moment is an absolute understatement. Everything you've seen or thought would be your future has now gone, or has significantly sort of become blurred, because you can't make sense of it, and especially being so young. So I was in very, very quickly. So within 3 days I was in hospital. 2 days I was in hospital, ready to.
You felt straight away. You felt already the feeling bad and.
Oh, I was numb. I mean, numb from sitting in front of a consultant telling me. I'd gone to the doctors on the Thursday morning, and on the Wednesday morning, and on the Thursday morning, I was told I had cancer, advanced. They had to deal with it, that I would never have children, and that I would go through the menopause at 26. In that one moment, and it was just.
It's quite a lot to digest see what's.
And I remember sitting there and thinking, I don't know how I'm supposed to react. This may sound quite bizarre, and I don't know if other people have had a similar experience, but I remember sitting there thinking, I don't know if I'm supposed to cry, or if I'm supposed to break down, or if I'm supposed to just say, okay, no problem, and get up and walk out. Or if I'm supposed to say, can you just give me a minute? I just didn't know, and all these things were going through my head. I don't know what to do. So I didn't really do anything. I just cried a little, you know, but not. It just came, you know, the emotion just came, and then that was the start of my journey. Really, that was a real. I don't know how I started that journey. It just, you know, I just decided then, well, you know, I'd had to deal with it.
So what was your first kind of thoughts and first steps? What were your decision after this? It's like, is it an end, or you had to go through a treatment, or it was like something terminal, said like, that's it?
It was treatable with masses of radiation. So I had a lot of radiation treatment. I had radium implanted into my body. The physical scars don't go away. You know, you get. So this happened over the course of, say, 6 months. So some intensive treatment, and then over the course of 6 months, lots of other treatment. But obviously I went through the menopause, so everything stopped working. So I went through all of the things that a woman goes through, usually in their 50s. They didn't really know what to do with me, apart from give me some pills and say, take them until you're 50 years old. Yeah. And being so in tune with my body, I questioned things, you know, I questioned, you know, why is there nothing else that can be done? But in those days, I mean, it sounds terrible, we didn't have the internet, you know,
yeah.
So I could only find things in a library. I had to go to the library, I had to do research. So I started to research, and I thought, okay, well, I've got to get myself strong again, because I was really, really weak from the radiation. It made me very sick. I lost a lot of body hair, and I was very badly burned. My skin was very badly burned because, again, it was never pinpoint radiation in those days. Nowadays it's a very small area, but in those days it was a very big area. So it affected your bowel, your bladder, your digestion. So from that treatment, as much as you are so grateful when somebody tells you, we believe that it's gone, we need you to come for the next 10 years to be checked every year in case it comes back. You're relieved, but your journey only just begins, because you leave the hospital, you leave the confines of people that are dealing with, you know,
yeah.
your internal injuries, I suppose, and you have to find a way to deal with it and recover, because it's not just a physical recovery, it's an emotional recovery. Because for me, the emotion was, I can't have children. That was probably the biggest, most devastating thing for me. And I couldn't really talk about it. I found it really difficult to talk about, because all of my friends were having children at 26, 27. You know, that was
yeah.
That was what I wanted, and so I had to. That was the worst for me. For the first year and a half, that was my focus. I just thought, I can't have children. I can't have children. I can't have children. Well, what's the point? I know that sounds,
yeah.
that may sound really shocking to some people, but that's what I thought. What's the point? What's the point? You know, it sounds, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
What's the point of having sex? What's the point of getting close to somebody? What's the point if you're not going to have a family? What's the point of your life going forward? You know, who are you? Because you have to then find your own identity.
Yeah.
It's no longer going to be in a family, unless you go down another route. But when your body's been ravaged by radiation, you can't sustain pregnancy.
Yeah.
In a traditional sense, you don't have options for IVF. I think things have changed now, but then there was no option to freeze, remove your eggs before you had radiation.
Yeah.
And in fact, by the time they found the cancer, I didn't have the option. So these were all things that happened in that moment. So it's quite extreme. But I've always sort of thought, okay, I can allow myself a certain amount of time to deal with something that's upsetting, but if I continue to let it keep doing that, it's destructive. And I had to heal, I had to learn again, I had to heal. So I thought, okay, I can, if I start to feel that happening, I need to take myself away, deal with it, and then get back up. Get back on with it, and that was my start point. Then I got physically well again, and you know, my body's strong, because I thought if I'm strong, I can achieve anything. So that was a positive for me. And then I had a few other life challenges, you know, my relationship broke down.
Was it the relationship that you had?
I was married. No, I was married when I was diagnosed with cancer. And, you know, it was difficult. It was difficult for him and it was difficult for me. And it was a consequence, really. I think life would have been very different had this not happened. But I couldn't talk about it. I found it very difficult to talk about. Not because I didn't want to, I just didn't know how to talk about it and be, because I usually look on the bright side of stuff and be
positive about it.
Yeah, and not drive other people to being sort of low. Oh my God, here she goes, you know. So for me, I just didn't talk as much as I should have done. I didn't communicate as much as I should have done. I didn't have a voice, which I should have done. I didn't really express my voice. So that period of time was very sort of learning. I had to learn a lot. You know, I changed direction slightly. Worked in sales and made new friends. You know, because I came back to England. Because I'd been in Northern Ireland after I was diagnosed with cancer. I had my treatment. I went to Northern Ireland, and in Northern Ireland, all of the women were. It was very difficult to work in those days because of the threats that were occurring over there. So most of the women would have children. That was the time when they would have their children and their husbands were working. So I didn't have that option, and that was quite difficult to be in a place where everybody was getting pregnant. You know, you were surrounded by pregnancy.
So can I, before you continue with that, I just want to go back to that period. Is there anything that you remember how you felt? How was your start of the day? Like the morning, before the cancer and after the cancer. Can you remember any moments that how you woke up, what you thinking, what your plan of the day, and how it changed after the cancer? What was the thinking pattern of looking for the day ahead or for the years ahead or something like that? Do you remember?
I didn't. Before I had a clear plan of my future. After I didn't.
So
it was like my whole future had been wiped out. You know, because I thought, okay, I'll have a family. We'll grow old. You know, we'll have children. Our children will grow. I'll have grandchildren. That was no longer there. Now it could have been if I'd gone along an adoption route, but. For me, adoption was only really for me, this is my personal view, it was only really an option if I was in the right family circle, in the right relationship, in the right place, you know.
You had to feel that's
that it was right, because you're taking, you're taking a child who potentially has had a really shitty life anyway, a really difficult time, and they're then becoming your child, so you have a responsibility, and I just didn't feel that was fair at that time, So
now after this, you kind of were contemplating of different scenarios or something what would happen.
Well, I always thought that I was different, and so I used to question when I was sitting in front of a consultant, I used to say, well, I could be different. I used to say that I could be different than everybody else. What if my body is able to sustain something ovary IVF, couldn't think of. And they said, but it's never happened. It's never been possible. And I said, yeah, but I might be different. And I kept thinking I might be different. And I just didn't pursue it. I didn't have the money, the finances to really pursue it. And so I decided, I had a choice. I either had to grieve for the rest of my life over what wasn't, or I had to say, right, pull your socks up, woman. This is your life. This is the way it's going to be. You are more than that. That's not the only thing that defines you as a person. Which is where I started this. I thought, actually, why do I believe that that's the only thing that defines me as a woman? The fact that I can reproduce. the fact that I can have children? Why is that the only thing that defines me in circle? And I think that's because, that is what we traditionally do, and that is how life progresses. But I had to find another way, and I didn't know any other women like me. I didn't know anybody who'd had cancer very young. I didn't know any other women who were childless.
Mm-hmm.
Every person I knew had children or was having children. So I was
constantly in that kind of
yeah.
environment.
So I had to deal with it. There comes a point where you just got to get over it.
Yeah.
You have to. For your own sanity and for your own growth, and then I started to look at the strengths that I did have, the things that I was good at, the things that I could contribute. So that drove me forward, to being a better person, I think, to be honest. And I was very strong and fit, and I set up a fitness company in Manchester, a small personal training centre, and started working with people on personal training, and that went really well. I loved my work, I loved my clients, I got great results, and then I started to realise that in relation to health and fitness, why was it, I questioned again, why was it that one person might be extremely focused and succeed at their chosen goal, and the other person who was very similar would follow the same pattern, the same routine, the same training program, and they wouldn't have success. And for me, my observations were that it was to do with their mindset, the way that they thought. So I started to play around with language and how I approached people. I started to study quantum linguistics and how that can affect the language that people use for themselves, how that can change very quickly, and also a positive power of intention and setting yourself realistic expectations, and the powerfulness of the changes was enormous. The changes in my clients was enormous. As soon as I changed my techniques of training, and then I moved down to London. I'd sold the business and moved from Manchester.
Why did you sell it?
I went into a relationship, and we'd been together about a year and a half, 2 years, and it was the right time. And I decided I could do the same in London as I was doing there, because I knew how to do it. I knew how to deal with the clients. So I sold everything and moved down to London, wide-eyed, here we go. This is going to be great. And I freelanced around London for about 9 months, and it was fabulous. I had some really cool clients, and it was a very different dynamic in London, very competitive. Whereas I'd been a big fish in the small pond in the north, because that was the way it was, because I had my centre. In London, it was almost the other way around. Yeah, I had to change my tack. And I'd been training in and around London for, it would have been about 9 months. And then I was diagnosed with a brain tumour, which was just ridiculous.
What do you think when you had like this second?
Well, it wasn't the second. I missed a bit. I missed a bit because 3 months prior I was diagnosed with skin cancer. I'd gone just to have a mole checked, and it was a malignant melanoma, and I had that removed. So I had a big chunk of my leg taken out, and I was recovering from that when for about 18 months I'd had sort of quite weird sensations in my left side, my left foot. But I put it down to training or having a trapped nerve or something, I'd had a scan from the neck down and nothing had shown, and I didn't know what it was, but it was a really weird sensation that I would get, and then I'd go very weak on my left side. I had a couple of really bad headaches after training, and I just thought I'm dehydrated, I'm not, I'm training hard.
You tried to reason that something
as a trainer, because I've always been really physically fit, I was a kickboxer for 10 years, I was very at the top of my game physically, I was an athlete, and and you know personally what that's like. You just know your body is like finely tuned. You work hard, you push, and it's not that you ignore things. You just don't pay. You don't really pay any heed to them. You just think, oh yeah, I haven't drunk enough.
Right,
yeah, I've done 15 miles running today. So that's the way I thought about it. But this particular day, I woke up on a Saturday morning. My head was really hurting, and it just got worse and progressively worse throughout the day. And without going into too much detail, I knew something was wrong, and I just had to go to the hospital. And I went to see the locum doctor, who asked me to go to St Thomas's, which was a Saturday night. St Thomas's is the busiest A&E in the country. So I'm sitting in the A&E in St Thomas's Saturday evening, and my head I felt like somebody was just crushing my head. And 2.5 hours I was by this time I was rocking. You know, I didn't want to cause a fuss, but I just thought, I'm going to die. I really thought I was going to die at that moment, and I was just distressed. And then I got taken in, and they took me straight for a brain scan, head scan, and they came back and said, you have a brain tumour. That was it. And I was just like, is this luck or what? You know, why? And and obviously because I'd had cancer, they thought it was a cancerous one. So that just started again. That just started a whole process of, you know, tests and scans and drugs, and you know, and my business was just gone really, and then I had to have brain surgery to remove the cancer, and before they did the brain surgery, they told me I may never walk again after the surgery, because where the tumour was, it was on my right side at the front, and it had affected a lot of the nerves to my left side. But I said, well, what's the choice? And they said, well, there isn't one. You're going to die. So there isn't a choice. You either choose, I may or may not walk, or you're going to die if you don't have it done. So I chose the you may or may not walk, because that seemed like the better of the options, you know.
Yeah, that gives you some other options on top.
Yeah, I thought, well, that's actually a good option.
Yeah.
You know, so so I went into the surgery, and then my journey really started. That was all the stuff I'd learned about mindset, about applying myself. I had to call on. It was just the most crazy thing, you know. Because when I woke up, I woke up in high dependency, and I couldn't walk. I couldn't move my leg. My leg was being supported with a machine that was pumping the blood to that side, and then within a few days I moved to my own bed, and then I had to learn how to stand up. But my proprioception, when your brain, you know, I thank God for the surgeons, you know, because I had no tumour. They took it out, but obviously I had then to deal with a lot of disability, a lot of everything that comes with it. So again, it was like, okay, how do I process this? And because it's your brain, you're now no longer controlling some of the parts of your brain, because they're just not functioning the way you know, that's familiar. So my thought process was slower, my speech was slower, my left side was very, very compromised.
How old were you then?
I would have been, it was 2008, so I would have been 43. And I was scared, you know, I was very scared. I just thought, this isn't right. I didn't believe it really. I thought, you know, this can't be true. But I just started on the road, you know, I started on a Zimmer frame. You know, I stood up, and I would, in the night, because I was awake, because I was on steroids, such high doses of steroids and painkillers and drugs, and you know, you name it, I was taking it, and my body was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger from the steroids, and I was sort of disappearing really, but I knew I had to do something, and I was wide awake because of the drugs, because they won't allow you to sleep or give you anything to sleep, because they don't know if you have a problem, whether it's because of the drugs or whether it's what it is. So they have to keep you, your body in a natural state, as it were, as natural as possible. So I was wide awake literally for about 3 months, wide awake, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I would lie and I might rest, and I wouldn't doze. I would be conscious, consciously aware of what's going on, but that was all I could do. And so I would get out of bed and I would get my Zimmer frame and I would shuffle around the ward, which would take me maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours, which was only a small ward. And then I would work out.
Did you do it with a purpose to kind of try to do something about what the situation you're in, to fix it, or
either
just you're bored?
Both. Both. It was mind-numbing, being awake on your own, thinking all that time to think.